Hey, folks.
Hello out there in Packer Nation. Welcome to another edition of the Absolute Packer Podcast. Believe it or not, we are on number 50. So we have hit half a century, which is absolutely crazy, but it's pretty exciting, you know. I was telling Elliot before we got on here that, when I was sick, I lost a lot of short-term memories, and I lost a lot of context of probably like 20 of the episodes. I know we made them, but so in a way it feels like it's been only like 10, but it feels like it's also been close to 50. So it's this weird living in like two different worlds kind of a thing. But I think it's kind of a pat on the back for ourselves that we've hit 50. It's been probably about a month since we've had our last podcast, and the primary reason for that is just we are all busy as hell. Combined with the fact that there isn't a ton of stuff going on in the offseason. Granted, there is always stuff going on in the NFL. You know, it's 365, 24/7 kind of a thing, and there is stuff going on with the Packers. But us guys have actually, even though it's the offseason and school's over with family and kids and stuff like that, we've been really freaking busy, which can be good and bad. So actually tonight it's just going to be Elliot Christensen and Andrew Hetzel. Jeremy has left. He's gone. No, I'm just kidding.
He's out of the band.
Yeah, he's out. We kicked him out. No, I'm just kidding. He's a Yoko Ono. No. Okay, we're just kidding. Jeremy, we love you. But no, all kidding aside, he was traveling out of town. I know he had some stuff going on with his family. I think he went on a vacation, and he had some stuff going with some dance recitals and performances and whatnot out of state with his daughter. But without getting into all those nuts and bolts, he wasn't able to make it tonight. We just decided to kind of get this one out of the way. So he will be back in time for...
You know what? It's Green Bay, Wisconsin. We have like 7 weeks of nice weather, if that. I mean, half like this.
And he left during the nice weather.
It's going to be thunderstorming. Yeah, but like you got to be able to travel and everything. So you can't even travel half the year here. Like
it is.
I don't know. I went to Florida in January a year and a half ago, and I got stranded there because it was like ice storms. Like, you got to take advantage of it. So
I always say that the weather report or the weather, forecast for Wisconsin is look outside your window. That's what it is, And to your point, lately, and I'd say the past week or so, if not more, it's been this thing where it's been hot and humid. It's been really nice during the day, typically, not a lot of clouds. But my analogy is like it's almost like boiling water. It gets hot throughout the whole day, and it comes to a head, and then there's all these thunderstorms in the evening. And I'll tell you what, it has killed my ability to go on bike rides. And last week I missed 2, if not 3 bike rides. One, I had kind of a cold. And I was like, oh, I'm not really going to go, but it ended up kind of storming anyway. And then the second time was this late night bike ride they actually have in Green Bay called Critical Mass. You probably heard of it. And I was all ready to go, gearing up. And then half an hour before it's supposed to start, I mean, there was a red line the size of the entire state coming in. I'm like, oh, that's great. So, yeah, the weather is funky. It's hot and humid, but I'm not going to complain. I'm going to complain because I miss bike rides, but I'm not going to complain about the heat because it's, to your point, it's cold, 8 or 9 months out of the year, it seems. So whatever.
Yeah. So enough of that, right?
I have, no doubt. I'm just weather to hell with it, right? In terms of the busy schedules, though, thing, I wanted to just pop on a couple of things. As you guys know, I started a lifestyle wear called Creature of the Wheel, CO2W. There we go. I'm wearing the snapback hat. That formally launched about 3 weeks ago. Actually, no, I'm sorry, a month ago. Jeez, the time is just freaking flying. Early the first week of June was when it launched, and things have been going well, but I've been spending a ton of time on that, social media. So I'm going to be repping that. I'm looking for brand ambassadors. You probably saw where people would be willing to take a look at, in exchange for some free or discounted gear, social media posts and stuff like that. But anyway, real short, lifestyle wear for those who ride, bicycle, cyclists, I should say, skateboarders, motorcyclists, ATVs. Hell, the other day someone was like, I like roller derby. Could work for that. If you got wheels and you're passionate, that's what it's about. But it's, t-shirts, some stickers and merch, hoodies, headwear, stuff like that. So I'm big into that right now, in addition to some other things to include the podcast going on here. But Yeah, so that's been taking up a lot of my time in a good way. Now I'm up to running the business, not just doing the fancy schmancy marketing stuff, So, but we are back, and there's stuff to talk about. So, why don't we pop right in? Um, okay, so a few weeks ago, because it's been a while, but there's been a lot of pieces coming out, whether it's blogs or pundits or NFL guys that are talking about will this new marriage of Matt Lefleur and Aaron Rodgers, how will it work? Because Matt Lefleur, he definitely, he's not a big fan of audibles. He wants to give the quarterback control at the line of scrimmage, but only to a certain point. He wants to, I've seen something of the sentiment of, he shouldn't have to audible because we're going to put him in positions to succeed, where he shouldn't have to do things like that. And Aaron Rodgers loves to have full control at the line. So there's this, groundswell of opinions basically saying, and even Aaron Rodgers came out and said, I'm not going to throw away 11 years of, knowledge and whatnot of knowing how to manipulate defenses and do things like that. But, to me, when I read all this stuff and I see it all out there, number one, they haven't even played in a regular season game. They haven't even played in a preseason game. They got to find things to talk about. And with Aaron Rodgers, quote unquote, versus the rest of the NFL, his struggles, people seem to think, they're trying to find other chinks in the armor, I think. So I think this, obviously, number one, just needs to play out. But number two, I think Lefleur, he's actually younger than me now. I just turned 40 a couple weeks ago. For what it's worth, I still feel like I'm 22, and I probably act like it, so it doesn't really matter. But Lefleur, from what I understand, I think he's 39. So he's a young coach, not the youngest in the league, but he's only a few years older than Rodgers. But it's a young man's game is kind of where I'm going. And the coach, if he's young, who cares? If he's got a dynamic offense, he's been learning from the Shanahans and of the world, the Kyle Shanahans, not the Mike Shanahans.
Right.
So, I have faith in what he's going to do. He's got to be able to have the players too, and we'll see how that goes. But, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I tend to think we got to see how things play out.
I I think any of it is mindless speculation. Like we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen a snap. We haven't seen anything. This is
we've seen a torn Achilles.
Right. I mean,
who would have thought the first major injury would be the damn new head coach, right?
Right. I mean, yeah. I just I don't know. I know that's like what we're all supposed to do, right? Packer fans are supposed to just come up with things to like be concerned about, but I don't know. Maybe this is just I'm just delusional, but like I'm super optimistic. I'm super optimistic for this next season. Maybe it's the success that the Bucks had and the Brewers had, and it just kind of like through osmosis, it just kind of like affects my brain. But I feel like we can't help but do better than we've done the last couple of years, in a way. And I feel like the Bears are okay, but I feel like the idea that like we're definitely going to lose that first game against the Bears, I don't see that. I think it'll be a good tough game, but that'll be great. I mean, those are fun to watch, and maybe we'll lose, but that's one game. But like the rest of the schedule, I think those are all winnable games, and I just I don't know how you can have personality problems like a week into things.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, people are looking for stuff, and even that NFL journalism, I'm using that kind of, it is journalism, but it's still, you got to find things, you got to find topics in a way. And I think this is one where they kind of found one. But, for all we know, they start up training camp and they're going to be fisticuffs and at each other's throats about this because Aaron Rodgers is checking out to, 40-yard bootlegs where he's, who the hell knows? But I for the coming season, I have it too. The main reason is more so about Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and what I mean by that is, McCarthy had to go. That whole offense had to go. But when you give Rodgers a chip on his shoulder and you motivate him, that guy is just he's like a Michael Jordan, you know. The last thing he needs is any extra and I think he's going to wreck the league this year, barring injury, you know. But, you know, in terms of, you know, I don't want to get into like we'll say predictions for wins and losses and whatnot. You bring up, you know, the division, how much better are they? But for the sake of argument, you know, I think this is probably a 10-win team. You know, I don't see them going 15-1. I don't see them going 13-3. I think they're probably about a 10-6 type team, which, you know, would be an improvement.
But honestly, at this point, like in the summer, like I don't think anybody should be predicting a 15-win team for anybody. I don't see any 15-win teams out there.
Patriots, I could see it. Until the Patriots, you know me, until the Patriots can prove that Brady is slipping. You know, everybody goes, "Oh, he's getting old. He's 42." But guess what? That guy's been. I mean, he tore his ACL one year, but outside of that, he's been pretty darn healthy, and I don't see any slippage of consequence. I mean, he's had a lot of changes around it, but this isn't the absolute Patriot podcast.
Well, okay, but to kind of bring it back,
that division is trash too. You should, God, that. Oh,
Right. So that, you know, they've had an easy going of things, but I mean, to a point, so has the Packers. But you know, like old quarterbacks kind of just fall off a cliff. You know, they just hit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think I don't see a slow decline with Brady. It's probably going to be like, oh, here it is. He's done.
Right.
But hell, I mean, credit where credit's due. 42. You know, Favre made it to 40, and he, you know, completely just wow, he was done. I mean, now obviously he got injured and concussed and all that kind of stuff, but he got the hell beat out of him his whole career. You know, Brady's still he's kind of grown up in the league under the new rules too, so to speak. But I digress.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the audibling and all that, I mean, ultimately, I just want to win. I don't really give a rat's ass.
So yeah, it's kind of back to the original thing. I guess I kind of deviated. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I think there has to be a little bit of he is the coach. Lefleur's the coach, so there has to be a little bit of a hierarchy, right? I mean, you know, there has to be some you got to fall in line a little bit, even if you're Rodgers. So he has to, you know, give a little bit of deference to the coach and just see where things are going to go.
Yeah.
Before he wants to, you know, rewrite the whole script. That said, I mean, he's not wrong, but I don't think Lefleur's an idiot either.
No.
I think Lefleur is going to feel the same way. So, like, I think this is just much ado about nothing. Like, I don't think if we heard Lefleur say, "Yeah, we have a very carefully scripted offense, and we're going to just make sure we don't need to audible," you know, ever. If you know, I haven't heard anything like that. I just feel like this is just making something out of nothing.
I'll say this too. I mean, to your point about, you know, believing in the system and all that, there's going to be a period during the regular season, not even preseason, because you're just putzing around, you know, in the preseason, even with I mean, are you installing new stuff when you're a new coach with, you know, a new system? Well, sure, but they're not going to reveal a ton. And kind of what I'm getting at is, you know, if Rodgers wants to believe in that system, he does have to let it play out. And the same with Lefleur. They're kind of tied at the hip that way. It's like, I want you to believe my system, but if you come out of the gate, if you don't like, you know, if you see something that you don't like immediately and you just immediately go way the other way and start, you know, you got to give it a chance. And let's see how patient Rodgers is. Because for instance, if they come out of the gate, if they go like say, you know, the first 5 games are like 2-3, who the hell knows, you know? So I guess I don't know what amount of games it is, but he has to, you know, let it play out to believe in it. But you got to have the horses too, you know. You got to have the players, and you know they've improved a little bit on the offense. They've supposedly improved a ton on the defense, but on the offense, improved a little bit.
But you know what? So we do have a new coach, and while I'm optimistic,
and he's hurt already. What are we going to do? New coach, and he's out for the year.
But I mean, he is new. If we end up 2-3, that's okay. I think it's fine. We got to give it a little time. Like,
Yeah, I hear it. And that's that age old question. It's like 2-3. Oh shit,
other years I'd be a little more panicked, but like we do have a new coach,
Good
so
point.
you're going to have to give it an extra
2-3 under this guy is not the same as 2-3 under McCarthy in year 10.
Yeah. I think it'll be fine, and
Yeah.
I think that should be, if we aren't 2-3, we should be thrilled, because 2-3 should be the expectation. We have a new coach. We have a brand new coach.
I don't know about the
expectation, man.
I don't know about the expectation, but again, it's how many games. It's like, 5 games in, 2-3 is not as bad as 3 and 5, 8 games in. And so it's just one of those things. But anyway, I think we have beaten that one to death. Yeah. And I think to me is you got to let it play out. Nothing's even happened. I went to a railbird, running around in shorts practice a few weeks ago. I can't remember if I talked about it in the last podcast or when exactly that, but I digress. It was like, I don't even know why they have those. It's you're like, oh, you're going to see him, with wearing the, they're wearing shorts and he's running around and he's throwing a football at a target. You're like, and, okay. Same with the other guy. So, anywho, keeping with the Lefleur offense, I have heard and seen repeatedly, and I think this is a good thing, that Lefleur really wants to run the ball to kind of set up the pass, whereas the Packers with Rodgers had always been pass the ball to set up the pass, pretty much. Right. So, I mean, pass the ball to set up the run? No, pass the ball to set up the pass. So, but that is like a big paradigm shift, so to speak. So, if this is where I'm going, and I kind of put a note here, if Aaron Jones is as good as they say he is, and he looks great, he looks dynamic, he looks like he was sorely and criminally underused last year, then, and I'm talking passing game and running game, both, that should allow, and the line should be improved, the offensive line, so that should help. But that should, we should be able to establish the run. It's going to be that 1-2 punch of Aaron Jones and I guess Williams. Is it Jamal Williams? God damn it, I can't remember his. It's one of those. It's got to be Jamal, the other running back. And I apologize if I screwed up.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I'm running a podcast. I don't even know names.
If I don't have the roster in front of me, they all blur together.
I apologize, but so that's like 1 and 2, right? But I will say this, I remember last year when they would never, basically, Aaron Jones would finish a game with less than 10 carries or something. I'm going, what the hell's going on? And he did get hurt at the end of the season last year. Absolutely. They fed him, he couldn't stay healthy. And I'm going, there was a reason why Mike McCarthy was hesitant to just let that guy loose, because weren't sure if his body could hold up. And lo and behold, I'm not saying it completely broke down, but cracks were starting to show. So this is a big prove-it year for Jones in terms of staying healthy. He's got the talent. We know that. Right. I mean, if he can stay healthy, and has Aaron Rodgers ever had a top 10 running back? He's probably never even had a top half running back. Give that guy maybe Eddie Lacy 1 year or something in certain category, but other than that,
he's probably the only one.
With him with a true top 5 back. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So but the flip side of this too is I have in the note here too. Will Aaron Rodgers allow this to happen? Meaning run the ball more, continue to give the ball to allow the run to take shape during the game. Remains to be seen. Again, I keep going back to the Patriots, where you look at Brady. I mean, in the AFC Championship game, he handed the ball off like some astronomical amount of times, but he won, and it was the play to do. And then they get to the Super Bowl and they win. And I'm going, if Rodgers, it's got to be championships, baby. We know you're a good. So get the hell out of the way. If the run's working, do it. Yeah. It's championships. He knows that. He's got to. I don't know. I mean, that's my take. I think they do need to definitely run the ball more and set it up. And I'm not saying they need to go, 50-50, but whatever they ran the ball the least amount of times, I think, statistically speaking, last year. It was like 33% of the time.
So we've beaten up on the Packers about their unsophisticated offense.
Was.
Yeah. And so I think having just I don't know how you gauge it, like percentage wise, right? But whether there's more like more sophisticated plays, but a higher quantity of more sophisticated plays, whatever, however we measure that. I think if there are some more options, all of those things are good, and I think that those are gonna. I think we are gonna. I mean, there will be more successful running. I think that is bound to happen by just having some more sophisticated
And
plays.
their offensive line has been upgraded. It was trash last year.
Yeah, but I mean, like even if things are relatively the same, like our overall talent, you get some positions get better, some get worse. But if the player mix, if things remain relatively static, if we can improve the play calling a little bit, like I don't know, I feel pretty good about that. Like I don't think it's gonna take that much,
Shouldn't.
Like everything is like at the NFL, it's all around the edges, right? Like all of the games are won and loss, like around the peripheral. So like if we can just like get one or two, extra, big plays and just a few more small ball plays, like I think that's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. I look at it as the old adage of quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
I mean, McCarthy would bang his head against the wall and he would be like, we're going to run ISO routes, one-on-one, and we're going to do it over and over and over and over and over. If you get quality plays in there, who gives a shit if you're running 15 less plays a game? Get quality plays in there. And then you're not beating up your players as much either.
So. I mean, that's totally true, right? So, I mean, if something didn't work, doing it again doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
That's called insanity.
I mean, yeah, I know people say that, but it is.
Same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Right. Yeah.
So I think there's something to that too, though, where the quality of plays, and there will be some more deception. They've talked about that, which there was zero deception in McCarthy. It was kind of laughable at the end. But anywho, so now we're on to the Brett Favre section. So this is kind of funny. It's a couple of weeks ago, I guess.
Do you think he really got hacked, or do you think he just did it as a drunk joke?
Who the hell knows? Well, supposedly it was a long time ago. I don't know, but the premise is, and people, if you didn't hear about this, you either don't follow the NFL, or you live under a rock, or you're smart and you just choose not to follow. But Favre a couple weeks ago on his Instagram, he basically posted, I made a decision, I'm going to make a return to the NFL, and everybody was all like, "What?" I think it took him like a day, not even like hours. It took him like a day to like retract and pull that off and say his account got hacked. But Twitter and the internet is undefeated when it comes to stuff like this. So they went crazy with all this stuff. You had Packer fans and even some blogs and whatnot coming out saying, let's bring him back. Now is his time to be Aaron Rodgers' backup. He'll have no problem with that. And so it was just going back and forth and all these, and he'd love it, and all this kind of stuff. So that was pretty funny. And it was, there was a part of me that was going, I bet Favre did this just to fuck with people.
Right.
Obviously, is right now, is he better than some quarterbacks? It's possible.
No.
Is he better than Deshaun Kaiser?
No. I don't think so.
Okay, how about this then? Does he have a stronger arm?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, he was working out for a while.
He retired. He got yoked. He was doing like triathlons and all this crazy stuff with his wife Deanna. And I mean, he's yoked. I'll give him that. He's staying in good shape. Yeah. So the next little tidbit on here is about Favre and Rodgers. So over the past couple of weeks, Rodgers and Favre, I think they played in the same golf outing somewhere, and there's a bunch of pictures I've seen, and then they had some interviews, and they're sitting down, and they're hamming it up, and they're laughing, and slapping each other on the knee and all this, and it just got me thinking. I put it in the notes. I'm like, oh, they're besties now. But boy, I'll tell you what. I mean, time heals all wounds and all that, but the turnaround of Favre, obviously with the organization, is one thing, but even with Rodgers and all that, it's pretty crazy to see that. For the outside world, the non-Green Bay fans and whatnot, it's kind of like, whatever. But man, that offseason, 2008 was just insane. And then the stuff that comes out, there was that Gunslinger book that Jeff Pearlman wrote, which I read, and boy, howdy did they. Him and Rodgers were so far apart. It was like there was no way they could ever bridge that divide. So, I mean, in just kind of a hokey sense on my end, sentimentality or whatnot, it's good to see that kind of stuff. But Rodgers he's 36. He's going to be 36. I don't know if he is already. Going to be 36. So it's like, I'm sure he's empathizing with what Favre went through later in his career too, where it's like he's the oldest guy in the locker room.
Yeah.
He doesn't recognize any of these. He's freaking 12, 13 years older than some of these rookies, if not older than that, 15 years older, whatever. So it's funny how those things fall into place, and history repeats itself in a way. So I don't know. Anyway, it's just kind of interesting to see. But it was funny because I think it was just yesterday, there was a picture that I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was Favre and Rodgers after this golf tournament, and they're kind of sitting out in the parking lot and they're posing with this kid for a photo, and it was like perfect photo about the two in terms of their personality, because Rodgers on the right, he's all got his golf shirt tucked in, he's looking real svelte and real kind of trimmed up. Favre on the other hand, he's got a golf shirt on, but it's completely untucked, and he had his golf gloves on, and it looked like it was mauled by a bear. The glove, it had like 5 holes in it. It looked like he's had it for 10 years and he just refuses to part with it. And it was just such a perfect dichotomy between those two. My mic fell over. I'm sorry.
But,
very excited.
But yet I think they have a lot more in common now.
Yeah.
You hit a point where, it becomes like, it's like a phenomenon of presidents, because remember when, like Bill Clinton and George Bush Sr. became like besties, and Bill Clinton basically got adopted by the Bush family. It feels a little bit like that. It's like you could be like political adversaries almost. Just polar opposites. But then you're like, but nobody else can understand what guys like us have gone through.
Yeah, and time. It's amazing. Time.
Yeah.
Just time and experience and. I don't know if like empathy is the right word, but a little bit,
it is because
speaking, right?
Because they both know, they're like, other people think they know us, but they don't. Yeah. And I mean, you
start to let your guard down more. You don't have to be so, like brand oriented. And I can't say this, I can't do that. You've got that cachet, for lack of a better term, and you can kind of be more yourself, so to speak. So yeah. Anyway, it is kind of interesting. So, I mean, that's really, there's little things, going on in the Packer world and whatnot. I mean, they might have signed some other draft picks, and I think they brought in some tight end who was with the Lions, and he ended up, they brought him in, failed his physical, so he was here for a cup of coffee, and then he's gone. I can't remember the guy's name, but other than that, there really isn't a whole lot to report on Packers football and things of that nature, or even, we'll say, business type sense. But we do have another topic to discuss, and it's something that's new and somewhat exciting, I think. This year, Absolute Packer Podcast, to include Jeremy, who's not here, Elliot, Andy, and Jeremy, we are going to be introducing an APP sponsorship program to try and get some sponsors of the podcast. Now, this is, I'll call, for lack of a better term, this is kind of Elliot's baby. He put together, some of the ideas and whatnot, but we wanted to talk a little bit about it, what it'll be, play out. Is it, is there a ton of legalese, and are there contracts and NDAs and whatnot? No, this is, it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like, it's not so stringent, and it's just something we kind of want to try out. So with that said, I'll kind of defer over to you if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know that we don't have that kind of thing, or shouldn't.
You're not an attorney, but you represent that court case.
Yeah, well, that was.
Wonder I ended up in jail.
Too bad for you, man. Okay, so I downloaded it. Where did it go?
Put together this. We're pulling up here. It's basically the one thing you have so far is we put together kind of like an infographic that we'll be sharing.
Yeah. No, I want to pull. Okay, here it is. I want to do a screen share of that. I can put that up on my screen here.
All right.
Let's see. Here we go. So, yep, exciting television, right?
Okay.
All right. So, put this here. All right. That's probably too big.
I'm going to try and fill in some of the space here. Let me think if there's just since we're trying to do this, I got a silly joke that me and my daughter like to tell a lot. Would you guys like to hear this joke? my 10-year-old daughter, so it's clean. But
okay. Do you see my screen?
Do, but I have to finish the joke now.
Okay.
So, joke is, and it's like your mama's so fat kind of a joke, right? Or your mama's so it goes, your mama's so ugly that she threw a boomerang and it refused to come back. It's pretty good. Now, I didn't come up with it. I did find that somewhere, but we both get a good chuckle out of that. So I know that's very random, but I was trying to fill some space and I thought it was kind of silly. So on to what we're doing.
So all other kinds of jokes it's not okay to laugh anymore. You can't laugh at anybody anymore. So, but ugly jokes are fine. If you're just straight up ugly, that's okay.
Aesthetically challenged? Is that what
they... Wow. I don't know. Like,
I don't know how I did that.
I'm pretty ugly.
Yeah.
So like,
you're aesthetically challenged. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So, anyway, this is just kind of based on numbers, and what we wanted to do is so if you're listening and you know somebody that has a business or an organization and would like to reach some Packer fans, I think what and jump in if I'm speaking out of turn here.
Okay.
But I don't want to have any kind of podcast where we have like 5 ads and we're stopping in the middle, so we're reading all these ads or anything.
I agree.
Like
I agree with that.
I would rather have 0 than do something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like kind of the goal is to have like 1 or 2. Like that would be like, I don't want to ever do more than that. And the other thing about advertising or sponsoring a podcast is it's kind of there forever. So
Sure.
yeah, in a lot of cases, some of the things we're doing is sort of timely, and that's reflected in some of these packages. But also things are they're ever present. So anyway, I'll just kind of go through this. So we kind of broke things down into packages. We have some names you might recognize. So again, no lawyers, so maybe they'll sue us for stealing their names. These aren't named after any people in particular. Just a random guy named Bart. It's not
the Simpsons.
So
okay,
that'd be worse to get. That would be worse than getting sued from the Packers, man.
Good point.
We do not want to get sued by Fox or Disney or whoever owns it. Bart Simpson now. Yeah. So this is just a random Bart, and hence the quotes. Good job on the quotes. So the Bart package, the Aaron package, the Brett package. Okay. So kind of just top to bottom because that's how it's laid out here. So the idea here is we kind of have a split between preseason and regular season games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean I shouldn't say that. Off season and the pre-regular and postseason, right? So that's what these are kind of all about. So like people really are the 5 of you that are listening right now, the hardcore fans, that's these guys, right? So the 2 off-season episodes, right? So so obviously like there are fewer people that are going to watch and listen to a Packer podcast in the off season. Like that is just the facts of life. Part of the reason is because much like our little group, like everybody gets busier at this time of year. So like, you probably just listen to fewer podcasts, it's just like a thing. So that's how all of these are kind of split up. Okay. So this top package, we're talking about 5 regular posts, 5 pre-regular and postseason episodes. And we are trying to do 1 per week. especially when we have sponsors. Obviously, we're going to honor that a little bit more
I
regularly,
think,
right?
to your point, I mean, when the season every week. Right now, since it's the off season, it's in between, mini camp, even training camp.
Yeah.
I'd like us to probably do, and I'm not saying for sure we would, but when training camp comes, every week would probably be good. But when we get to the regular season, it's going to be every week.
And it's every week. Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing about what we're doing though is like you're going to get some promotion in the things where the places where we're active. So so on the website we're going to list you as a sponsor as the website. We're going to list you on Twitter. We're going to list you on Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. And we've also done some Facebook videos, and of course, like we're doing with this, it goes on YouTube. So we'll do a little YouTube promo spot on there. So that is the Bart package. The Aaron package is a little less. It doesn't include any of the off-season spots and has one fewer regular season. And I shouldn't say that. This one has. I got that completely backwards. I'm sorry. So I was fiddling with this before I sent it off to you. So I should just read what we have here, right? So
no worries.
The four season episodes and then the one off season, right? And all the other same stuff, and then finally the kind of the budget option is doing 4 off season things. So summertime episodes with all the same sponsorship, but we won't do some of the extra video stuff. But all the other same things we will do for these. So so even any business that's on a budget or an organization that has an event, anything anything that is like regional Wisconsin, anything I think would be interested in doing these kinds of things. And these are just the packages that we kind of put together because, based on some numbers, based on some past experience with other podcasts, these are kind of the going rates for doing these kinds of things. But we don't have any sponsors right now other than, shilling for the things that we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to negotiate, now is the time to negotiate because they are negotiating from a place of power because we're just getting started with this. So there's the potential that they could get a better deal, or they could, have something that's not, isn't pigeonholed into one of these packages. So yeah. So I don't know if you have anything to add on that, but
yeah, I think to that point, to say that this is basically just a start. It's kind of like the 80. I'll use the 80-20 rule. It's about 80% there. The remaining 20% of it, can kind of be worked out. It's not written in stone. It's a proposal that we've gone through, but we'd like to, kind of give it a shot. And it goes to show that, how serious we take it and, how much we want to continue to grow and how much we want to continue to get more fans and just get more, build content, all those kinds of things. So I think it's kind of a step in the direction of growing and being, maybe not professional, is the best word, but maybe more professional, so to speak. So yeah.
Well, I mean, so in all seriousness, though, we do have some costs that we incur, not a ton, and all of us have been relatively happy to do that. But I mean, like
yeah, Jeremy just sent the bill for his trip.
For his vacation.
Got to pay for that.
Yeah. I don't think that's what we're talking about. But we have some some actual things we do. There's some audio video things for making podcasts and we'd like to do a better job with that even. So as I heard your audio,
just a couple little subscriptions. There's oh, I'm sorry. No. Is that okay now?
It kind of comes and goes, and I don't know if it'll be that way in the final recording. So but those are the kinds of things that I want to work on. Those are the things that a few extra dollars can potentially solve.
There you go. We need more money, and then it'll work.
Well, no, I mean that's true.
I'm doing
yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean I think that kind of sums it up.
Yeah. So that's really all I want to say about that. So.
Okay.
And this will be on the website. It is not there yet, but I'll have it in there soon. either by the time I get the episode published or shortly after. So it'll be out there.
I think that's a good point in that, we are on all social media, YouTube and things of that nature. Right now, I think Facebook vehicle in terms of how many likes we got and people following things of that nature. We are on every podcast platform you could possibly imagine. Our site, our website, absolutepacker.com, probably is quote unquote the big fish in the pond, if you will, because that's where all the content, all to include blogs. We try to do. We're going to be doing more and more. Obviously, as the season gets here, it's been a little bit sparse, but all the the information about the brand itself, but also the blogs, the podcasts, all that. So, I mean, obviously, in this day and age, it's like things get a little nebulous in terms of does your Facebook page function as your website? I would say in a way it kind of can do those types of things, but at the same time, Absolute Packer, you want to control your own brand as much as you can. So absolutepacker.com is where everything kind of resides in that one spot, and all disseminates out from there. So I would encourage people to go there and even read past blogs, find out more about our bio and things of that nature. And to Elliot's point, we are going to get this the sponsorship package, this graphic, and just the information out onto the site and some other spots, I'm sure too. So.
Yeah, I should have brought this up too. So so we have the
site
up here.
We've done a few sites.
So the podcast is available like anywhere anybody would possibly listen, even on services like Spotify. Mm-hmm. So people that aren't familiar with podcasts, it's really hard to explain to them like how to listen to a podcast. One thing that some people on Facebook kind of reminded me of, but a lot of nerds know this, but the Amazon devices, but even Apple has even on your phone. So if you go to your phone and you just say and if you say it out loud, if I say it out loud, it might activate somebody's device. But if you just use the word, hey, lady in the phone, play Absolute Packer podcast, that will happen. It'll open up the podcast app and it'll play. Same thing with the Amazon devices, the same thing with the Google devices. So if you have a Google device in your phone, in your home, or you have one of the Echo devices, or you have the Apple HomePod, any of those, you can just shout to your device in the room and you can play the podcast. But there's also all these other services, so you can play when you're at work. If you want to just throw it on and listen, you can listen on any of these services, and you can of course listen on the website. The way this is just a super simple player on the website, it won't keep track of your place. It won't keep track of which episodes you listen to. That's where like using a service can sometimes help with those things.
Sure.
But most people are going to use they're going to go to their Apple Podcasts. They're going to go to the Google Podcasts, and they're going to just subscribe there. So anyway, I cleaned that up a little bit. It's hopefully that's a little bit easier for people. But like Andy was saying, you can go to the website. You can check out the blog. That gets updated pretty regularly. I don't put much out there, but Jeremy puts tons of stuff out there. Andy puts a bunch of stuff out there. It's good. And it is the central place where the podcast gets pushed out to the universe. So it's not just it's not just about the brand. It really there's a technical reason for it. That's how podcasts work. It does kind of come from there. So if anybody cared about that, because they don't.
Well, I do. I definitely do. And I mean, when you think about it, like I said, it's like when I think of it, I generally, point to a website before I point to social media, and it's just because how I've been kind of trained for what it's worth and stuff like that. Where do you own and control your brand? Well, you can push stuff out to Facebook and stuff like that, but ultimately your own site and things like that, that's where you have everything exactly the way you want it, and you can control the entire message and the entire dissemination and all that. So, I think there is definitely, go to our social media. We definitely want that. But at the same time, if you really want to, find out more about us and kind of start, a place to start is the site, absolutepacker.com.
Yeah. Send people here, and they can, they can get a little taste of what things are about. But they can also find things, they can listen the way they want to listen. So.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you have any other closing words. Also, if you forget our phone number, this is where our phone number's at. So if you want to leave us voicemail, especially in the off season, if you have questions or things you think that we should talk about, 508-535-5468. You can also hit our Facebook group here and leave us something there if you want to discuss it either in Facebook or you want us to talk about it here. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
Got anything
actually
else?
I had one thing,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a teaser, but
Oh,
we're going to be trying to line up. And we talked about it, but I reiterated.
Yeah.
We're going to be trying to line up, as many guests as we can too in this coming season. Value-added guests. We've got some ideas. We're putting some feelers out, but it's great to listen to us go back and forth and banter and all that kind of stuff. But I think at the same time, it's good to also bring on guests, and some of the guests that we bring on, I think you'll recognize. So yeah, we'll look forward to that too, and we'll try to feed that information or send that information out too.
yeah. I mean, even more so, I think some of them people might not recognize. And I think
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's some gems
Yeah.
out there that
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
And a
think
variety of topics, within
Yeah.
football, not just we'll call it pundits or whatever, but
Right.
I'm a graphic designer. Can I find somebody that has something to do with design and art and branding and things like that? I think it'd be great. I'm kind of on the lookout for that. Stuff like that.
Right. Cool.
Yep. Alrighty. Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.
Podcast. Chair. I know, right?